Hi friends, welcome back. Today I have got some gnomies in the house. So where's my gnomies? Come on, wave to me, gnomies. We have Gnome Drive, which is a collection by Spellbinders. And this collection is beyond cool. The reason I say that is because this collection, you buy the first set. And this first set is Gnome Drive Holiday. Now, this set, which we're going to build today, is the starter set. So this starter set, and you guys have seen these before, comes with the vehicle. None of the other sets have the vehicle in it. So the reason they do that is because the less dies in a set, the less expensive the set is. So this set, of course, will be the more expensive set, is Gnome Holiday. But then all of the additional sets are cheaper. So you have a cheaper price point for your add-ons. And if you had to have a car in every single set, you would have all these extra pieces and extra dies, and dies are money. So I think these are genius in that aspect. The other one that is out this month that is like this is the Envelope of Wonder. That is another set that is similar to this. In the first one, you have the envelope with all the flowers, and then your additional sets are less expensive, but you get all of the add-on pieces to use with that same envelope. So it's a win-win price point wise. So here we have the vehicle, we have the gnome, and that's the other thing. You get the full gnome in this first set. In the other sets, you don't get the gnome or the car. You get his accessories. So you've got, like in this one, you've got his hat. If you want to make him a shamrock. Yeah. For St. Patrick's Day. And you have bunny ears for him if you want to make him an Easter bunny. So, and you have the hat in here to put the bunny ears on. Where are our bunny ears? Right there. So then you can do him for Easter, you can do him for St. Patrick's Day, and you can do florals for spring. So you have a 3-for-1 here that you can change your gnome into. And then for Valentine's or love events, it's Gnome Drive Hearts for You. And in this one, you get the main heart, smaller hearts, the heart balloons, and the balloon strings, the arrow, a bow, and you get all these pieces to be able to create him in a love scene. And then you have Gnome Drive Graduation, which I'm changing this up today and going to show you how to use it as back to school. So you could use this 2 times. So 2 times a year. So this one comes with your cap, your graduation, the apple, the pencil. You get all of those pieces here. So everything you need to do that is in here. And we will show you, and I'll show you an example of that as well today. So I'm going to show you 4 cards today, one from every set, so you can see how all of them look or can be used. It also has a really cool stamp set, and these stamp out really nicely. I stamped these out in VersaFine Onyx black ink, and then I heat embossed them with clear. And these just look gorgeous when they're stamped out like that. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So our first scene is going to be our winter scene. And of course, for winter, who do we need? We need to have Santa. So I have turned my gnome into Santa. And we will get our pieces out here. I have made some hills for us to create our scene. I've got our sentiment stamped out. I cut out 3 trees. I've got us a Santa, body, beard, hat, I've got 3 mushrooms. Santa's got a belt. He's got black shoes. He has got white gloves. He's got a fluffy white top to his hat. And he's got a nose. So, we will first, what we're going to do is I'm going to bring in a blender brush, get all my supplies here. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is build our Santa. And to build our Santa, we are going to use some Barely Art glue and take your pick tool, whatever kind of, placement tool you use. Now, to create his belt, I'm just using a scrap one of these, but I just wanted to show you, this was the top portion. I've lost the bottom portion of him, but I'm just doing this for reference so you can see what I did. But I just took the full black piece, pretend this is black, and I'm using this just to show you. I took the full black piece and I just cut it freehand at a curve like that. And then I just cut again across here. And that I just did it at a slight curve so that it would look like a belly. So that's just to put across his belly like so. So that he would have a belt. You're not going to see much of it because his beard is going to cover most of it. So I'm going to put that on him first. I just wanted to give the illusion that he had a belt on. And there we go. And then he's got these 2 little black shoes. These are his boots. His little boots. So we will put those on down here. I just wanted to make sure I showed you how to make one of these gnomes so you had the instructions or a visual on how to make one. Now, of course, when they're in the car, you don't put the feet on. They give you these feet so that you can use them outside of the car, which I think is really cool. Makes them more versatile to be able to use them both ways instead of, just giving you half a body. Then I like to put the beard on next. In the beard, I put all the way up towards the top. Like, whoops, his shoe slid. Like so. I'll pull it up to the camera here in just a second and show you. There we go so far. See? So you can see his belt under there. Under his long beard. Isn't that cute? Now let's put his little white gloves on. And you can tell the gloves because of the thumbs. You can tell which way they go because of the thumbs. So just look at that portion. And these little pickup tools really make this simple. I know the little pieces scare some people, but it's almost like it's therapeutic in a way. I love just turning music on after I die cut all the pieces. I mean, even when I'm die cutting the pieces, but I like just sitting here and gluing, though, once I got all the die cut pieces out, and I just listen to music and just go at it. So then I'm going to just put glue around the edge of this because that's the only portion it's going to touch. And you're just going to cover up his top of his beard line because his nose is going to go right up there on the curve. And I'm going to just put the fluff up there. My puppy's in the background. He's dreaming. He's making little noises in his dreams. Wonder who he's dreaming about. Think he's dreaming about a playmate. My Dior won't play with him. Okay, so let me get my Copics. I'm going to take E000, and I'm going to take his little nose here. And I'm just going to go over his nose with E000. And then I'm going to take E00, whoops, wrong end. And I'm going to go over the right side, the bottom, just a line along the bottom, and the left side of his nose to give him a little shadow on his nose. And then I'm going to blend that to the center just with a little bit of flicks, not covering the center. I'm going to leave that highlight in the center. There we go. So that's his little nose. And before I put his nose on, I am going to give him some decoration to his beard. So every time you see a little notch, let me show you it closer. Every time you see a notch in his little beard, that's kind of like a ripple in his beard. So I'm going to go up a little bit in each of these and create like a little ridge that goes up in his beard, each of these areas, just kind of like, almost like an A form. Let me do one and I'll show you. So I'm just going to come up here and kind of go up and go down. Go up and go down. And it's going to be wider at the bottom than at the top. This is just going to give him some fluff. And then I'm going to do a shadow under the brim of his hat. So here is the first little bit. All this is shadow. That's all it is, because his beard is white. So this is just a little tiny bit of shadow. And this isn't necessary. This is just me adding a little detail and giving you guys a little bit of something, something. Just, you know, just ideas. So now this is a little darker. This is C2. The first one was C0. And you can use C1 and C3 if you want to. C3 might be a little dark. But you could use C1 and C2 or C0 and C1. You know, use what you have. I mean, by no means go out and run and buy C markers to do this. I mean, this is just a little tiny thing, you know. You just use white paper. And any alcohol markers could work on this, you know. You don't have Copics, you have another brand, use that brand if you want to try this out. This is just a little extra detail. Going a little darker here because this is a cast shadow that's under his hat. Okay, and I'll show you that one. It's a little darker now. And now if you want to blend that out just a little so it's not so dark, you can go back in with your light marker and just kind of go on the edges a little bit. Just to blend it out just a little bit into the white. We'll just leave it, let it dry, because it'll soften as it dries. So then we'll hook his nose on there. And we have Santa Claus, Santa Gnome. Okay. Okay. Now, this next step we're going to do is the background. And I decided to go do a technique on the background, even though it might make this video a little longer. So I'm going to get out my ink board here, my Make Art by Ranger. This is available on the Spellbinders website, just in case anyone is interested in it. I've had it forever. Let's see. So I need my background. And we're going to use some Simon Says inks. And I'm using Cadet and Royal. And I'm going to start with Cadet. And I'm using a large blender brush. And we're just going to start from the edges. And we're going to darken the edges of our paper. We're wanting to leave a highlight in the middle. So we want our blue to be light. We want this to stay light. We want the gnome, we want Santa in our scene to be our highlight. I've embossed the back of this paper with an embossing folder by Spellbinders. It was the first time I've used this one. It's really pretty. It's actually a sale one that was on the clearance rack on the website recently. Okay, so we got that darkness happening. Then we'll go in a little bit darker with Royal around the edges. See how dark we can go. I really want a halo, like it's glowing. Yeah, because that other color is drying back the color of the paper, it looks like. See, when dye inks dry, they lighten. So let me hold that up and look at it. Okay, we're getting a little dark on the bottom and the top, so I don't need any more ink on the bottom. Let's see if we're going to even this out on the top. Or is that the top? I think I'm headed upside down. Okay, I think that'll probably be good enough. You can see that highlight in the center. That's kind of what I was going for, is to get a highlight. So when Santa is on here, there's a halo behind him. That's what I'm after. So we will close that. So I'm going to take some Nouveau drops. This is Crystal Diamond. Let's see how this works. I'm going to take some Nouveau drops and I'm going to get this wet. We're going to try our flicking and see if this works. I used acrylic paint on a practice, and it was an outdoor acrylic paint. It was outdoor exterior. And well, we might have to, because this isn't very white. I don't know if I like that. Okay, let's go back to the acrylic paint. It's kind of permanent, so it like gets over here and I gotta scrub it if it gets messy. So okay, we'll go to the acrylic paint. I'll just have to clean it up. This is what I had on hand. I wasn't gonna go out and buy it. I didn't have any more white paint. So, but I wanted white splatter. Come on. Here we go. Okay, now we need white. So we will do the white. If we get messy, we get messy. That's okay. But we want pretty, don't we? We want our... Come on, let's see how much of a mess I can make. There we go. There we go. There we go. Oh, getting huge splatters at the bottom. Okay. Okay, good enough. So we got our background, and now we got white everywhere. So let me grab a baby wipe real quick. Okay, so here we go. Our scene is set. So I've got these couple of mountains, and I thought we would just... Oh, we got ink smears on that. Let's see how we can do this. We can move this over to get that to come off. Can't we? Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to, because this is bending from the water, let me get some double stick adhesive. By using double stick adhesive and attaching it to a piece of 100-pound cardstock, it allows for your moist paper, either an embossing folder or in this case, this piece that we got wet with the splatter, to strengthen up quite a bit. So this just gives it sturdiness and it also flattens it. So I do this a lot of times with the embossing folders also when I run something, when I spritz it and I run it through an embossing folder. And it gives your card a lot more sturdiness, and it's just overall just strengthens the entire card front. So that's what I'm doing here as I'm layering it. And if you're wondering why I went over to a voiceover in the middle of this video, it's because the audio malfunctioned a little bit and the length of the video was almost an hour. So I had really good audio at the beginning when we were doing the tutorial part for building the Santa and everything. So I went ahead and kept that and decided to speed up this ending and the rest of the building of the card, just so to be considerate of your time and also for better quality. So we're going to go ahead and attach these hills. This is a die set, an older die set that I'm using here. I'm not sure if it's still available or not. I can check and see. But you can freehand cut these too really easily. But I'm layering these, and I'm going to use pop dots or 3D adhesive for the top layer. The bottom layer I glued straight to the card base. And this here again just gives some layering detail. It also gives a place for us to tuck in our mushrooms later, which makes a cute effect on the end of the card. It just gives you, your extra dimension, and it makes your hillsides look 3D. So I thought that was really cute the way that turned out. So our Santa gnome is going to have our little trees behind him, and I wanted that back tree to be a little lifted so we could see it. So Santa hid the back tree so I lifted it up, and you can't tell because Santa's hiding the bottom of the tree. So I went ahead and glued it higher, which I thought was effective. So we're just going to glue these in place, and I'm gluing these straight to the background. I really like the way the background turned out. And you can't tell in the video, but it is textured from that embossing folder as well, which gives it a really nice look. Hopefully it'll show up better in the pictures. But it really turned out nicely. And then little Santa, we'll pop him up in front. My little Lola, the puppy, is finally asleep laying here next to me. I don't know if you've been following my videos, but I've got a new puppy. And she's been at my right hip ever since I got her. So that can get difficult when you're filming and recording and editing and but here I'm trying to decide on the placement of the sentiment, and I kind of liked it offset like that. So I didn't want to cover up all my sky, and there's some really neat kind of snowflake-like detail in the embossing folder that I didn't want to cover up. So I moved it over to the side like that. I also didn't like the way it looked in the white. It was kind of lost. So now we're going to play with our little mushrooms, and we'll tuck our mushrooms in. And like I said, I really like the way that tucks in the mountain or the hilltops there. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Those mushrooms, if you're wondering, come from the Envelope of Wonder collection. And they're just the perfect addition to these gnomes. I've actually used those also in the Fall Better Press collection too. I've used that that Autumn Wonder add-on collection to the Envelope of Wonder. I've used that across all of this, all of these different sets. So that is a keeper set, man. If you don't buy anything this whole month, I would definitely consider the Autumn Wonder fall set just on its own. It is a beautiful, beautiful die set. But I just love the mushrooms. They're just adorable. So I'm adding those Nouveau drops just to give some darker snowflakes in the air, and I really like the way he turned out. So here we're going to do the Valentine's Day one, or love as they call it. And I have given him a patterned paper hat. I thought that would be a little different. And then I'm making our own background in this one. I thought this would be a cool technique. So I'm using one of the small dies and I'm just doing a white on white background. So rather than use an embossing folder, I thought we would create our own. So the way I came about this is I measured and found the center point of the cardstock using my T-ruler, and I placed the center heart. Then I did the full row of hearts under it, and the bottom center heart. And that's after laying them all out on the paper to see, okay, is this gonna all fit? So once I had that center and that next layer and the bottom center one, I knew from that doing the rest of it, pretty much eyeballing it, would be easy. So that's just to give you some tips on guidance on how to line these up. Now I'm just pretty much using the center lines of the hearts to line this up the rest of the way. To do that the beginning of the lining up, I looked at the spacing between the hearts as well. Right now I am just looking at those center like crevices of the hearts, and I'm making sure they're lined up. And the rest is eyeballing pretty much. But to get that first placement, I looked at that spacing between the hearts, and I looked at like the points in the center crevice of the hearts, and I lined them up like that. So I really think this was effective at the end. And I wanted to try something white on white for a background, and then have that car as the pop of the middle, to have like a clean and simple look, but with that punch of color in the center so that the gnome really was set off. And that's what I was after. And I think it turned out pretty decent. So I really enjoyed this card. And those reverse tweezers really come in handy. They're a major tool in my toolkit. I've really learned to love them with all this small detail work. This is kind of a thicker cardstock. I found this in my scraps. I have no idea where it's from. It's got a texture to it. It feels really nice to the touch, and I have no idea where it's from. I had enough of it in my scrap box to do the whole card base and the die cuts on top. You just gotta love going through your stash, huh? But it worked out perfect, and it feels really good to the touch. So keep those scraps. I've got like a one of those mega Ziploc bags that I just toss all my scraps in. And when I'm doing these little tiny die cuts, it's so funny. I bring my scrap bag out to the couch, and I have a little like TV dinner tray thing that sits in front of the couch, and I have my little tiny die cut machine. Oh, here's a trick, guys. I gotta stop babbling. I cut those hearts off, and I alternated them, and I'm filling in the blanks up top. If you see there, just didn't want you to miss that little part. So those hearts that were hanging off fill in these little tiny areas right there to finish off the card front. So there we go. Isn't that cute? So now our little Gnome can sit there with his sentiment. So I'm going to pop him up. Those are the Spellbinders 3D foam dots or foam squares. Easiest peeling foam squares on the market. They're so easy to use. I'm going to put that right there, upper center. And I'm also going to pop up that sentiment strip. And I die cut that out from another die set. I didn't link, well, not link, but I didn't show it in this, but it's from a different collection. I'll try to remember to link it down below. I think it's the 4 Petals collection, the foil plate. It was perfect for that sentiment. I used it a couple times, I think. Then I just hooked that to the card front, but for the sentiments, I used 2 sentiments in this. I used one from the outside and one for the inside. So it says, cruising by to say, there's no one like you. Isn't that cute? You just gotta love that. That's so cute. I'll probably let my grandson give that to his teachers for Valentine's Day. Speaking of grandsons, there's one coming up for him to give them right now. But first, let me show you my spring card. This is, I use pattern paper for that one too, for his hat. And rather than do the leprechaun or the Easter bunny, I just went total spring. I decided to change it up and be different. And I just made him a spring card, and he's just flowing with flowers. And it's a lots of love, or love you lots. And I use those embellishments from Spellbinders for the flower centers. And that is a Becca Feekin die that I use for the border. Now this is going to be for my grandson to give his teachers coming up next week. The pencil is adorable. And this is actually a graduation set, but I took out the graduation part. And it says, best wishes to the years ahead, or the year ahead. Let the shenanigans begin. So those are my cards for today, guys. And I hope you've enjoyed the video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.